Of this card actually has the water guide. This is super important for fruit, anything that fruits. So peaches are coming off, cherries are coming off, blackberries, tomatoes are going right now. So we're into the production season right now. I'm able to eat out of the gardens starting now through fall. But watering is critical. Here's what's happening right now. Your plants are used to the drip system that you've got going, or whatever your hand watering, whatever system you've got, however you're watering, irrigating your plants. Wherever that water goes, it is bone dry outside of that. There is no moisture in the ground at all. So the plants are super dependent on you. What will happen is if that plant gets dry, if you've only got one emitter that you started this plant out, let's say 3, 4, 5 years ago, and it was fine for that amount of time, but now it's grown up and it's become larger. The root mass has gone from here to out here. Sometimes, and this is when you'll find the weaknesses in your irrigation, you'll need to maintain, or it's kind of like, irrigation systems are kind of like an automobile. You need to make some maintenance to it, probably seasonally. Or you need to actually expand or add to or amend your drip system. So if you had one emitter on a tree or a shrub back 5 years ago, that's probably not enough right now. What I'll do is I'll cut that off, I'll put a T in, I'll put 2. You put a real simple T on it. Now I've got 2 emitters. One of those spaghetti lines, the thin 1/4-inch line, you can have up to about 10 emitters on one of those lines, and then you start to run out of pressure. There's not enough water going through that line. So you can easily take off the ends of that and add 1 or 2 or maybe 3 or 4. It's a really large shade tree, very large tree. So if you're seeing stress, the leaves are looking burned at the tips, it's got holes or shriveling, or it looks some dry on the ends, those are all indications that you may need to do a tune-up on that irrigation system. If the plant is in for more than 2 years, you'll notice on the back of this it says established plants. We broke it down into 2 seasons, growing season and winter. We need to water year-round here. Obviously, we're at the peak of the season. April through October is our growing season. So there you're watering once a week established plants. Trees, shrubs, I would say all the plants we're talking about up here today, vines, grapes, about once a week is good. Deep soak. We don't water long enough. These micro irrigation systems, we just don't leave them on long enough. Things got to run for an hour straight to get 1 gallon of water on it. But a 15-gallon tree probably needs about 15 gallons a week to get enough water on that thing. So you might need to add 2 or 3 emitters around that tree to get enough water to run, or run it for 2 or 3 hours at a time to get enough moisture. What I find rookie, newbies to the area, especially Midwest folks, they really have a hard time. They're thinking water every day. Midwest and Northwest, hold on, let me see how many other people I can put down. Yeah, that's about it. Northwest folks think it's water, it rains every day, so therefore my plants need water every day. They don't need that. With our heavy mountain soils, you really want to push that water. So as you water, water gets heavier and heavier. It starts to push that water down. Hydraulics are a funny thing. It just pushes the water. You want to push that water through the root zone and then a little bit more. So you want to train your plants to go deep, not real shallow. If you're watering every day for 15, 20 minutes, which is a common thing I see, for a 1 gallon emitter run for 15 minutes, that's a quart of water. You gave a big tree that needs 15 gallons of water a day, or a week, you gave it a quart of water. You're gonna do it every day, oh yay. You gave it 1.5 gallons of water. Super, that's good. You've got a plant that's gonna struggle. So it's very dependent on you. It'll be real shallow rooted, it'll sacrifice or dry up all the deeper roots, so let them go. It's gonna go, well, if that's what this is what I'm relying on, I'm gonna put all my roots up here where the drip irrigation is, and I'll just sacrifice and go up here. That is fine until you get into the monsoon seasons where we get these blustery wind patterns. This is when you'll start to see peach trees blow over. Butterfly bush will literally blow over in the wind. Fruit trees will they don't have enough roots. They'll load up with fruit and they fall over. It's because they're too shallow rooted. So you want to train these plants to be real deep rooted so they're more drought hardy and wind resistant. Does that make sense? So it's kind of common sense when you think it through, but that clock, the micro irrigation, it's a hard one to kind of put your brain around. But once a week, deep soak. New plants are different because the roots are this is a Rosa Sharon. It's starting to bloom right now all around town. This is a hibiscus. So you folks from California, Hawaii, the tropical Phoenix, Palm Springs, you're famous for those tropical hibiscus. Those don't grow up here. This one is a hibiscus, and it actually is hardy enough. This goes down to minus 40 degrees. It'll take any amount of cold you give it. And the flower's not as large, but it makes up for it in sheer quantity. So this will have hundreds of flowers on it instead of just 4 or 5 at a time. This will have dozens all at once. And you can count on it. Every year it will do this. Every single year. It's amazing. Every yard should have at least one. It gets up about this tall, kind of pretty big size. It's a big shrub. Loves full sun. Hummingbirds and butterflies love it. It just has everything you want in a garden. This is a plant you treat like your trees. Once a week, good enough. But when it's small like this, especially if you're buying it, we sell most of them when they're in bloom, they're more sensitive. Anything in bloom, you need to be more accurate on the watering. But because the roots are only this big, you probably need to water this twice a week instead of once a week, so we can hydrate it. Once the roots push out in a year or two, a season or two, all of a sudden the roots aren't here, they're out here, and now the pressure's off on us to water so frequently. So you can back that off next year to once a week. So if you got a lot of new plants, what I'll do, because I've got a lot of plants, I'll connect my new plants up to the drip irrigation system, but I don't modify the drip irrigation. I just keep it on that once a week watering, and then I'll supplement it by hand once a week. Every 10 days when I think about it, actually. So usually I'm out there, I'm a gardener, I'm out there pretty often. I go, it looks like you need some more water. Makes me feel good because I'm caring for my little plants. And so it keeps them blooming. Okay? Anything that blooms or fruits, you need to watch that a little bit. You need to be careful with those so that you get that right. Any questions on watering? This is especially important, the winter piece, for container gardens and all these plants up here. You got fruit trees, anything that fruits. You'll need to supplement water in the winter. And this is really hard for the Midwest folks again, because they're used to, they don't even water. They just basically, it gets cold, they get a frost line. In Wisconsin, 8-foot frost line. Why would you live there? Leave, come to Arizona in the winter. I mean, just free, everything turns into solid ice and they don't use water. We don't have a frost line here. I mean, code is 18 inches for your main and sewer and water lines. I mean, it's barely underneath the earth to keep it from freezing. We don't have a frost line. And so what happens is your plants are still using water through the winter. Not much, but they're using some. They didn't freeze, they're still active, the sap is still flowing, so you need to actually water those in winter to keep them healthy. This is important for edible, your fruit trees, grapes, berries, brambles, pomegranate, those kinds of figs. Really, really important. If you don't, we'll have what's called winter kill. And the plant will actually get burned back to the ground. If it gets bad enough, it'll burn right past the roots and the roots are killed. Some things are more sensitive. Pomegranates, figs, really sensitive. Berries a little bit. You can lose your canes. We'll go over that in a second. So just follow that direction. This is made to tape inside your irrigation box or your garden journal. As a reminder, you can take my face, turn it around, post it in so you don't have to look at it, so you can see the water guide. So it's kind of small. You might need some cheaters to help you see that. Okay.